on the ghost. We stand on the opposite shore. Hello, Ramona. I reach through mysterious ceilings, my only hope. I look.
Hello, DMV. This is Ramona Jones McClain, and I am coming to you live from 11707 Ricestown Road. I had a guest on here with me. Not sure what happened. We got knocked off because I was coming on before start time. But I want to thank you so much for being on here with me today. If, in fact, you have a question or a comment that you want to make, you can give me a call at 443-660-7131. That's 443-660-7131. Or you can go to www.podbean.com, LSW /insurance guru, and you see the rest of the HTTP at the bottom of the video screen. Or you can go to the link that you can tap on our Facebook page or Instagram, and you will be able to get on and call in. If you have any comments or anything that you want to say, you can also text them to 443-660-7131. Now that we got our housekeeping out of the way, today's show is here to about the insurance rates. Everybody knows that the insurance rates are going a little bit awry. The industry right now is reeling, whether it is auto insurance or homeowners insurance or medical insurance. Co-pays are going up, and we're going to talk about the medical insurance industry in October when we go into open enrollment and we gear up for what is to be expected and how you can navigate that particular industry. But today we're going to talk about your rates and the crime index. The crime index. Now, when you talk about rates, you talk about location, you talk about driving records, you talk about youthful drivers, we talk about all kind of things, but no one talks about the crime index. The reason why, because the crime index historically has looked like they're discriminating on particular locations. And the thing is, what is the crime index? The crime index is the determination per 1,000 or per 100 people how many times a crime is being committed. The two major crimes that they track are violent crimes and property crimes. You know, in Baltimore City, in the area that we are in, you constantly we get notifications every time there's another murder. The goal is every year is to keep the murders under 200. Of course, I don't even remember the last time we were able to actually achieve that accomplishment. That determines the safety of the area that you live in. Now, remember, we've talked about this in the past. Insurance is based on evaluating risk. There are certain risks that are covered, including vandalism, theft, fire, and then there's a whole list of what's called covered perils. Perils are things that put you or your property in hurt, harm, or danger. Perils, and that's spelled PERILS, are things that put you or your property in hurt, harm, or danger. These things can be insured, whether it is your house, or your body. Okay, whether it is your house or your body. You can insure your body, you can insure your health, you can insure your property, you can insure your vehicles. There almost everything is possible in this market to be insured. But the cost of insuring them are determined based on risk. And how do we determine risk? One of the factors, because I get these phone calls all the time, why are my rates going up? Why are my rates increasing? One of the factors included in determining why your rate is increasing is the crime index. Now, of course, historically, if you look at the statistics, especially on the US Census, those areas that have the higher levels of poverty tend to have the higher levels of crime. That's because these people need things, and what do? They go out and they take it. So you and remember that the two crimes that are most highly tracked is violent crimes, whether it is muggings or burglary, armed robbery, or deaths, murders. So violent crimes, and then property crimes. Um, just for statistical standpoints, and I'm going to bring up, there's a chart that was developed by, and I'm gonna share that right now if I can, if I know what I'm doing.
As the road you travel changes, so can your insurance need. Talking with Farmers Insurance Agent Ramona Jones McClain.
If I can share my screen. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, let me see. I'm going to attempt to share my screen for the purpose of, let's see if we can add this right here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, as you can see. So the chart at the bottom tells if it's more purple, it's more dangerous. If it's close to the white. So I have a screen up from Neighborhood Scout. It's a security gauge, and you can go to neighborhoodscout.com /Maryland /Baltimore, and crime and then hashtag description. It tracks both violent and or property crimes, and the crime index, believe it or not, is like 162% above the national average in Baltimore. It is like the third highest crime related city in the entire United States. In addition to that, you see the areas that are the darkest, and I'm just going to touch it. Druid Park, which is right down near Mondawmin Mall. That is a very high, which is right up the street. And then, of course, you see the areas downtown. So I had a gentleman, because his coverage is going up. It's almost doubling. When I go in to try to quote him several places, I've got several companies that won't even quote him, and they're not giving me an answer why. Okay, so I go in and I call them, and it's like, well, the crime index. So one would say, actually, I was speaking to somebody today And he said to me, well, just change your crime. Can we do that? Is that possible? Is it possible to change the crime of the area we're in? And you can see on the screen, you can see the saturated dark purple in Baltimore City. And it's not just that way. We got saturated purple in Prince George County. We have saturated purple in areas in Dundalk. It is a situation where the higher the crime, the riskier it is to insure property there. And we're not just talking about the house or your renter's insurance, we're talking about your car as well. So I got a question that's coming in. Let's see. Okay. Isn't using the crime index another way of just redlining? Well, if you were using only the crime index, I would say yes. Because even within specific areas, whether they're hotbeds or not, rates can still vary based on the other individual characteristics that determine how your vehicle or how your house is being rated. But that particular area, so remember when we talked about last week when we were talking about credit, and credit determines what tier you go in, right? So your credit determines what your insurance score is. And based on your insurance score, you fall into, I think it's like 9 different tiers. You fall into 3 different categories. And then within each category, it's 3 different tiers. And within each tier is 3 different categories, right? So it's preferred, standard, and non-standard. So that determines where you as an individual falls. Then within those tiers, what determines what category you go in, 1, 2, and 3 in each tier, crime index is the next highest factor. Whether or not, so we may consider you the person. So I start putting your rate in and everything looks good and it comes, and then somehow we get halfway through because I put your zip code in and it stops me. It says, unfortunately, we're unable to offer a policy for this risk at this time because of the nature of whatever. The crime index is stopping because it is not enough. It is not profitable enough. It is not profitable enough for you, for the company to insure risk in your area. Not talking about you as an individual. And that's one of the things too that people get confused about. Insurance is a pool. It means that you and everybody else in your area are going in, and everybody that fits your category are going into this pool. If, in fact, the number of losses that come out of the pool is greater than the amount of money that's going into the pool, then the company is not profitable. You may get upset saying that, oh, you can't make money off of me. The bottom line is you want your insurance company to be profitable. You want them to be around to be able to take care of you. You got 100 people, I don't know, putting $100,000 in the pool, but which means technically out of 100 people, only maybe 1 to 2 people can have a claim a year. But if you got 8 people having a claim, where's the money coming from? How are they going to cover the claim? You want the insurance company to be profitable. So that's why I'm going over all of these things that affect your rate so you can understand how risk is determined. If, in fact, you are in an area of which crime is high, and that's either violent crime or property crime, it affects the cost of insurance in your area, because the likelihood you are going to file a claim is greater than someone who perhaps lives in an area where the crime index is little to none. Probably because there's only 5 people there. And they live out on the farm, and it's cows, and the cows aren't. The biggest crime out there is somebody running up, tipping the cow over. Okay, so you can't say that it's redlining if in fact it's, yes, the areas that cost more are the ones that are more congested, more people involved, and the those that have a high level of crime. Unfortunately, it also tends to be those areas in which poverty levels are higher. You want to change the rating factors for specific areas and change the poverty, which means we need to create industry, we need to create jobs, we need to create opportunities for crime to decrease, because people have the ability and the opportunity, not just the ability, but the opportunity to generate capital. That's the importance of how this is done. Okay, I've got another question coming in. Let's see. Uh-huh. Why can't I just lie about where I live? And this is coming from John from Baltimore. Okay, John, this is the thing. When an accident occurs, statistically, from an experience standpoint, within that company, the accident goes within that company. They log the accident based on the zip code where your vehicle is housed. I get this a lot, especially a long time ago. I've been in this industry for a while, and when I used to work at that other farm company, I got a lot of comments on whether or not people were coming into Baltimore City causing accidents, and that way Baltimore City was being blamed for it. Unfortunately, that's not really how it works. When you get in an accident, they log the accident based on the zip code where the vehicle is being housed. That means the address that's on the policy. So if you, right, lie about where you live, and you or somebody in your household has an accident, then those accidents are being credited to the zip code that you're lying about. The claims history is being credited to the zip code that you're lying about. And ultimately, what you're going to do is drive the rates up in that area. Ultimately, that's what you're going to do. And unfortunately, it's not an honest depiction on what is and is not available as far as rates, and skews the data and makes it difficult to truly assess what in fact is available as far as rates in particular areas. It's just not, it's you think you're gaming the system, but ultimately you're breaking it. It's not the most effective way to, in fact, get you a better quote. The most effective way is, in fact, to, like my friend said earlier, change the environment, change the crime level in your area. Granted, that takes years to truly accomplish, but those are the things you should be fighting for. Better jobs, better opportunities in the areas that you're in, as well as teaching people what is appropriate and necessary to make things more economical where they are. It's important that that you learn this, because ultimately you are affecting your financial freedom. Ultimately, you are basically saying that you don't care about how much money you waste on this, that, and the other. And it's always baffled me, because to me, you would think those who can afford it less should be able to pay less. But that's not true, because those who can afford it less are forced to pay more, which means they end up staying. It's like a revolving cycle in the level of poverty that they're in, because they waste money, because they're not being smart about how they use the money and the resources they have. And it's just an ever evolving cycle, in which, if you take a look at the situation that you're in, and I'm talking about the community that you're in, improve your community, it will improve your pocket. Say it with me, everyone. Improve your community, it will improve your pocket. And do something with the young people, so the young people aren't hanging out and creating havoc and causing issues. Clean up. Don't throw trash out the window. Clean up the trash, so that the quality of your neighborhood presents better. Improve the grounds of your property. Do the maintenance and the upkeep, so that you have less homeowners claims and less issues. And you just don't buy the building and move in and then don't do anything. Because eventually the building, which is just brick and mortar, will fall down. You have to maintain the eloquence and the quality of your property by doing stuff to it and with it all along. This decreases the perception of your community and decreases the willingness of those who want to commit a crime. Or maybe it increases it, and they want to come break in because they think you got something. I mean, but the thing is that if the community comes together and watches what's going on and pay attention and talk to one another, then in fact, you will be in a situation where you are maintaining your community at a level that decreases what is called apathy. Apathy. It is apathy. It is hopelessness that creates an environment where individuals don't care about the environment that they live in, and it minimizes the improvement and maintaining of it. And this increases the crime index. And you must care. You must find one thing, just one thing to care about. One thing to care about, and focus on that, and get everybody around you to care about, whether it's just picking up the trash, whether it's making sure every yard on your street is mowed, whether it is my neighbor. I love my neighbor Caroline in Tawny Town. She is the flower lady. She wants everybody's yard, don't get me wrong, so do I, to look beautiful and colorful, and she just buys flowers. Every time you go, she can't help it. She's like, I got this flower. Hey, you mind putting this flower? Hey, you need this flower? But that is her thing, because improving the condition and the presentation brings up the property values. Your property is worth more. You can you are building assets. You are building a financial future. These are little small things that might seem like nothing in the big grand scheme of things, of eating and keeping on the electricity, but it matters. It creates a more positive and friendly environment, and it also creates a communal environment where you care about where you live, and there is less apathy and there's less hopelessness. We're going to take a break and run this commercial here.
Hello, DMV. This is Ramona Jones McLean, your insurance guru. I am a farmer's agent located at 11707 Reisterstown Road in Reisterstown, Maryland. Here, you can call me at 443-660-713.
Road you travel changes. So can your insurance need. Talking with Farmers Insurance Agent Ramona Jones McClain can help you assess whether you're ready for the journey ahead. Call Farmers Agent Ramona Jones McClain today at 443-660-7131. That's Ramona Jones McClain at 443-660-7131.
All right. Thank you for hanging on in there for a few seconds. I'm so sorry I missed. I had a guest on here earlier, or a person who had called in. I do apologize. I accidentally kicked her off. Please come back, ABC7. If you hear this, if not, join us next week. As I am getting a new intern, or bringing the old intern back, one or the other, something or another. So they can assist me right now, technologically and mechanically. I am navigating this on our own, and hopefully we'll have our co-host in here soon that will be assisting us if he chooses to come. So let's talk about the things that affects the crime rate. So a few years ago, we had the Baltimore riots, and according to the report, there was over $16 billion in damage. So, of course, we were angry, and I'm going to say I felt like we should have went out in the street and did a mob dance. If everybody's doing a mob dance, we can't be thrashing and looting and carrying on. Yeah, we can't be thrashing and looting and carrying on. Okay, but by having all of that property damage, it drives insurance rates up. The insurance company, who does have reserves, they are required to have reserves in place, and that's what I'm talking about, profitability. When they are profitable, they don't just take and everybody gets a bonus. That's not what happens. A good amount of money goes into reserve, because they're waiting for, like the hurricane that hit land yesterday. They're waiting for something to happen where that money needs to be used. Like the storm we had, what was that, 2 or 3 weeks ago? They came in and knocked down all of the power lines around 140 in Carroll County. Like the road was blocked off for a whole week. BG&E was living out there. They had like a whole remote satellite office set up out there, right there in the mall, and it was something to see. Like, and one pole fell on somebody's car and they just left it there. Like, it was just there. I guess they were afraid to move the lines, even though everything was cut off. But it was just, in any case, these are the type of catastrophes that they put money aside. They reserve money so that you can have it available for these situations that occur. So by putting this money aside, it can only be available if the company is profitable. So you want the company to earn money. You don't want them to have an absorbent amount. Like there are some companies that are sitting on quite a bit of cash and they're acting like they're not. They're scared. They're afraid to let it go. Why? Because they think that big event is coming where, like Katrina. But a lot of insurance companies are saying, no, we don't have it. And farmers is in a situation, they're not insolvent. They're not showing a lack of revenue, but they want to be conservative, and it's one of the reasons why they made the decision to pull out of Florida, while they pulled out of several states. And when I say pull out, Florida, they're not writing anymore at all. California, they temporarily put a moratorium down where they're not writing any new business, which means we're just going to try to manage the policyholders we have and try to improve our ratios as far as profitability, and that means versus how much money is coming in versus how much money is going out. And granted, most insurance companies are reinsured. That means they got somebody who backs them up when there's a tremendous amount of losses. But even that is minimal. That's not forever. I mean, the bottom line is the money has to be there. There must be money available to cover your claim. And it's the reason why rates are going up. The crime index is a big factor. Under credit, there's crime. And these are environmental factors or major factors that are determining what your insurance score is and your insurance rate is, and not just affecting both property and casualty, which is both auto and home. They're affecting both of these things and thrusting us into a situation where some people's rate is increasing by $500-$600 and they are floored. They are having a fit. So what can we do about this? You can't impact the crime in your community overnight. We know that. There are things you can do, and I just talked about them, to be communal, to be engaging, to create an environment where there's less apathy and less hopelessness, so that you care about what it is important. Those are things you can do, but they happen over time. They are not the thing that's going to impact your rate tomorrow. What can impact your rate tomorrow? Believe it or not, lowering your liability limits does not do it. That's perhaps an immediate thing, but you get discounts. When I say discounts, your tier, your level that you enter into the rate is higher if your liability limits are higher. So you get charged less per $100 of coverage if your liability limits are higher, even though higher liability limits cost more money. But ultimately, over time, you get classified in another area if your liability limits are higher. Okay, so lowering your liability limits does not do it. One of the things you may consider is PIP. Now, this is controversial because it's considered, and I'm saying, quote unquote, Maryland's only no-fault coverage. Let's just be very clear. Those days are over. There is no such thing as a no-fault coverage. Everything that dings your insurance record affects your insurance score, whether it is at fault or not at fault. They may not be able to surcharge you for your insurance score for that particular claim or that particular incident, but it ultimately affects your insurance score. It's just like, let's say you walk into Macy's, and you decide to get a credit card, and you go and they run your credit and you decide, oh, I don't really want the card, but you just dinged yourself. You just affected your insurance score because somebody pulled your credit. Everything that hits your insurance record affects your insurance score, whether it is at fault, not at fault, or just a towing claim. I had a gentleman, God rest his soul, he was with me for actually the last 12 years. He just recently passed away. This man, he had all these old cars, and he had like 20 towing claims a year. And wanted to know why his rate was so high. Because, dude, you filed 20 claims a year. It got to the point where some cars he couldn't even get towing on anymore. He had to wait until all them claims fell off. And I think we underestimate, because for some reason we get this mindset in our head that things are free. No, you get what you pay for. Things are not free. There may be benefits, added benefits that you get, but these things can be abused. If in fact they are abused, then you start to have to pay for them, whether it's on the front end or the back end. It doesn't matter. All of these things affect your rate and affect ultimately what you and the folks around you pay for insurance. All of these things. All of these things. It's not really rocket science. It's not something that you can always affect. But there are things that you as an individual and you can teach others to do that ultimately long term begin to positively remove your area, your situation from high cost. And it is easy to do. Change your driving habits, change when you drive, change how you drive, improve your property, maintain it better so that your area becomes deemed an area that is insurable. And this is both not just personal, but commercial. Can't just have a warehouse and everything else around you falling apart. It's one of the reasons why, I don't know, grocery stores come in the area, like Wegmans did down at Owens Mills. What did they do? Part of the thing that they did when they came in is they agreed to widen the road, because what they wanted to do was to create an environment where traffic flowed freely. They did not want to create a situation where more cars got into more accidents at that corner, because it just was not set up properly for people to navigate through the area now that the store was there. It's one of the reasons why when ShopRite came into 21207 down in Baltimore, one of the things they did was they agreed to give to the community a particular amount to help improve the areas of the community in order to have their store there. Because when you're a business in the community, you can't just walk in and walk out and set your stuff up. You have to engage in the community to help maintain its level. It's both economic, socially, and emotionally. You have to do this. You have to be, we are our brother's keeper. We are our brother's keeper. That's just bottom line. We are our brother's keeper. This is important. You must do it because it allows everything to go down. To go down. You know, these things seem small, but the more we detach from one another, the more we consider ourselves apathetic and say, I don't care. That doesn't have anything to do with me. It does. Ultimately, the crime that exists around us, ultimately, the things that you allow children to do in your neighborhood, ultimately, the things that happen in your community affect the money in your pocket. Point blank. When I first moved into my building last year, this was a throughway. Everybody and anybody was just walking on my property. Everybody and anybody. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know where they were going. I had to stop it. I had to stop it because, first of all, if they get hurt on my property, who's liable? Me. That's right, me. I also had to stop it because I was having electrical line issues, and all they had to do was walk through here one day and get and they're gone. And then whose fault is it? Despite the fact that they are trespassing. The other thing is it teaches them to be responsible and to pay attention to the community around them. You can't just do whatever you want to do to other people's stuff. That is what increases the crime index, the concept, the mindset. You cannot do whatever you want to do with other people's stuff. You must be responsible to one another and respect one another. So I start saying, catching them. If you don't work here, you can't walk through here. Do you want a job? And I literally hired 2 or 3 of them. Still doing it. Still doing it. Why? Because really what they need is something to do and something to be responsible to. And as leaders in the community, we have to focus on that. That is what reduces poverty. That is what reduces apathy. That is what reduces the crime index. And that is what reduces your insurance rate. And it's really not that simple. It's complicated, it's complex, but it's one day at a time working on that one thing. Remember, find your thing. Whether it's flowers that need to be planted to be beautiful, whether it's picking the trash up, whether it's giving the young people to do instead of trampling and trespassing through your yard. It's that one thing. Find your thing, improve your community, improve your crime index, put money back in your pocket. It's really just that simple. I want to thank you for listening to me today, listening to the Insurance Guru as I ran about those things that affect our financial strength and our financial future. I appreciate your kindness, excuse me, and your dedication to the show. Please, I encourage you to share my show with your friends. I need to increase followers. If you please follow me, like me on podcasts, like me in excuse me, in Restream. Please share this information. We are on here every Thursday, Lord willing, and no fail. I encourage you to share, listen, and respond. If you have a question, you can send it to me at 443-660-7131. You can text it to that number, or you can email your question to rjminsuranceagency@gmail.com. I appreciate your kindness. This is Ramona Jones McClain. I am your insurance guru, and we are out.
Hello, Ramona. I can't shake the simplest feeling beyond the ghost. We stand on the opposite shore. Hello, Ramona. I reach through mysterious ceilings, my only hope. I look for the things I don't